My F19. Dad asked our godparents not to have the waiters sing happy birthday to my brother M11, who likely has hyperacusis autism. But they did it anyway. My family is close with a couple from church who we referred to as our godparents, in their 60s, growing up since my preteen days. They're in their late 60s, and they've also counselled my parents on many things through the years. Finances, big purchases, biblical advice. They're also church leaders, and they've celebrated almost all of our milestones with us, to the point that they're basically family. However, they struggle with boundaries, and I've lost respect for my parents who continue to give them a pass in this specific area pertaining to my post. My brother is autistic and very shy, and he always asks us not to have the waiters sing happy birthday when we go out for dinner. Our godparents have a prank they like to do to embarrass people, and that's having the waiters sing happy birthday even when it's not someone's birthday for free cake every time we go to a restaurant. Before I continue, I want to point out that both my parents and godparents are church leaders. And church leaders, at least in our church, always go to a restaurant following Sunday service to mingle further. My godparents pull the prank on a random leader each Sunday, to the point that it becomes an inside joke in the group, like who's it going to be today? But when they did it to my brother years ago, on the Sunday of his birthday week, he literally cried from the attention of the nearby tables as they sang to him. My dad asked them not do it to him anymore after that, and they listened for a few years until this weekend. My dad reminded them not to do it this year when we went to eat with leaders on the week of his birthday, and they agreed beforehand. But they later changed their mind and did it anyway, and said he was overreacting when he retreated to the bathroom for some time afterward. I told my dad that we shouldn't go out with them anymore, but he disagreed because he considers them family even though it's the second time now, and we rarely celebrate anything without them. Is there anything I can say to get through to him, because I don't know at this point? And they won't let my brother stay home after he asked the following Saturday in regards to future restaurant trips with them. What should we do? Update post. It's been some time since my first post, but I've since reflected on something that caused many misunderstandings in our family for years, thanks to a therapist at my college, and the restaurant incident being the latest in a string of misunderstandings. I didn't go to the therapist for myself, but rather my brother and a condition we couldn't name. My parents knew he had some sort of autism growing up, but they weren't sure what this other thing was. I'll describe it in a moment as I did for my therapist, who was able to provide much clarity. But this condition played a role in why my brother didn't like being sung happy birthday at the restaurant, along with other similar instances in the past. My therapist believes my brother has a condition called sound sensitivity autism, or hyperacusis, that makes everyday sounds feel uncomfortably loud and sometimes painful. It can cause anxiety from dreading anticipating unpredictable loud sounds, sometimes depression or social isolation. My therapist came to this conclusion after hearing some things I told her about my brother, some dating back many years. We once went to a football game, and he hid in the concessions area with his headphones blasting because the inside seats were too loud. He has also hid in the bathroom at church when certain services were too loud, raucous. He doesn't like concerts and visibly shakes whenever a crowd gets loud. And he'll often wear headphones at home because the TV, especially live audience events, often triggers, overloads his senses. There are many more examples, but my parents have trouble understanding him and have blamed him for not wanting to do family activities when he actually does, just not the ones that trigger him. Our family loves sports, and he does too. He watches them with headphones on that's playing music, but doesn't watch with friends due to fear of being perceived as weird. The worst times were when he was forced to do activities he didn't want to do. He once had anxiety before a piano recital. Not because he was nervous about playing, but because every time applause would ring out during the event, or any live event, that, in it of itself, caused anxiety. He enjoys playing piano, but not the performing part of it. He said it's like constantly living on edge because you never know when a loud sound will ring out. However, there was something my therapist told me on a subsequent visit that gave me hope, and it was an article she found from last year. There is an NBA player named Joe Ingles, whose son had a similar condition, but he was younger, unlike my 11-year-old brother. Like my brother, he also didn't like loud environments, and didn't attend his father's games as a result. However, last year, he had a breakthrough thanks to the medical professionals he saw, and his mother made plans for him to attend his father's game for the first time. Joe was no longer a starter at this point in his career. He came off the bench. But the Timberwolves coach told the team that he was going to put Joe in the starting lineup for the game his son was attending, and the story was covered by media outlets. I brought that story, along with the webpage I referenced, linked above, to my parents to try and explain my brother's condition we never understood. And while they were receptive to it, they didn't feel that it was necessary to bring him to a doctor or therapist because they believe they can give him exposure tests on their own that'll lead to a similar breakthrough. But I disagree. Joe's son made a breakthrough thanks to guidance from medical professionals, not his parents trying to cure it on their own. But no matter how hard I pushed, they refused to take him to a professional and instead chose to reach out for support, prayer from church. I can't express how upset that made me, and I couldn't bring him myself because I'm not his parent. I hate how they think they can easily replicate the breakthrough Joe's son had without professional help. I told my therapist, and she agrees it's unfortunate because it's better to address it as young as you can. Regarding the incident at the restaurant, my brother had a sensory overload when the waiters sang and other tables were looking at ours. This is the second time our godparents have done this to him. He was 8 the first time they did, and he started crying when they sang. We didn't know what hyperacusis was at the time, but my parents told our godparents not to do it again when his birthday approached in subsequent years, and they listened until he turned 11 this year. My parents reminded them not to do it this year too, and they agreed before breaking their promise. I tried explaining the unofficial diagnosis from my therapist to my godparents to make them understand, but they were even worse than my parents and said he needs to stop acting like a girl. Regarding their fake birthday recurring prank that leaders come to expect every Sunday they go to a restaurant after church, like whose it's going to be today, LOL, I told my parents it's wrong because it's stealing by taking advantage of the restaurant's free cake when it's not someone's birthday. But Dad said it's justified when the total is often over $100 and that the cake can't be more than like $3. I called him out for how the Bible says that all sin is equal, regardless of big or small, and he didn't like it when I did. But back to my brother. They aren't budging in their opinion of not seeking a medical professional. And I hate when people use religion and arrogance to think of themselves as above doctors and such. New update. A few people reached out to ask if I ever considered telling the head pastor about the leaders stealing at the restaurant. Unfortunately, the head pastor and his wife are complicit in the inside joke. I should also clarify that while there's one restaurant that we attend most often for the happy birthday prank, the group occasionally rotates to a Chinese buffet that doesn't do happy birthday songs because it's a buffet. So when we go there, it's a break for that week. I've argued with my parents a lot since my previous post about many things. I've called out the group stealing many times, but Dad said it's justified because the group is usually anywhere between 10 to 15 people, when others bring their kids straight from church. So while one person is getting free cake from the birthday prank, 14 other people are paying for their own dessert, and the bill is usually a few $100s. And given how often we visit there each year, the restaurant likely makes a few $1,000s from us each year. Dad literally admitted they were sinning, because he admitted that the good, 200 pluses bill, outweighs the bad, $3 stolen cake, literally contradicting how the Bible says that all sin is equal, big or small. Furthermore, Dad admitted that he thinks Jesus is stupid because he thinks he can pull that over him. And if God is stupid, then he can't be all-powerful. And if he isn't all-powerful, then why the hell are we going to church unless it's only for the social aspect and street credit of being a Christian when it's convenient? Regarding my brother's sensory challenges, I tried to convince them to seek medical assistance while he's still young, but they've grown tired of me bringing it up and told me not to anymore. They also said they don't want him to be diagnosed because they don't need someone telling him that there's something officially wrong with you when God says you're fearfully and wonderfully made. But I disagree. According to my university therapist, a diagnosis can help him receive accommodations at future jobs if need be. Plus, the sooner he receives medical attention, the better chance he has of making progress. Continuing to ignore it will make the symptoms worse. But my parents have made their decision. My therapist said the next best thing would be trying to accommodate him by not forcing him to attend concerts, shark sporting events, since they won't let him see doctors that could provide healthy coping mechanisms. Another was simply dropping him off at home before my parents went to the restaurant, where church leaders are loud, obnoxious, and often walk around to other people's seats. However, my parents refused because other leaders bring their kids directly from church and they don't want to get there late. They also said that he'll improve with more exposure, and I couldn't disagree more without medical attention. As for where things stand now, I decided to make a report to CPS as a result of some things my brother told me. First, he said he wants to receive treatment, but our parents are obviously against it. He said he feels anxious 24/7 and wishes he wouldn't wake up on some days when a loud event draws closer, like a concert, harsh sporting event he's forced to attend. Church as well, which is loud. During the drive to such events, he'll close his eyes and hope they never arrive because time seems to go slowly with his eyes closed. He also hates when he gets overstimulated, and our parents limit the amount of times they'll let him go to the bathroom. It's also affecting his friends who don't understand why he doesn't want to do certain activities. And he doesn't want to say why, while wishing he had treatment. There were other thoughts he didn't feel comfortable disclosing, but I made the report due to feeling worried he might have some dangerous thoughts. He literally said it's like living on edge 24/7, because a loud sound can happen at any moment, and his tolerance has worsened with time, to even quieter sounds overstimulating him. It's been over a month, and I haven't heard anything from CPS. And since there's no physical harm involved, I'm not sure anything will come from it. I've permanently lost all respect for my parents and their lack of care regarding this matter, and I've already decided that they'll never meet my kids, or even know they exist in a perfect world. Anyone I date in the future who disagrees won't be considered because I consider this a deal breaker, and I'm not changing my stance. The only reason I haven't fully told them off is because I'll likely be cut off if I do. And then my brother would have no one in his corner.